Okay, welcome out to the Verso duplicate training. Like yesterday, I'm going to start off with turning time over to Leah Marie to talk about why we're here.
Okay, so George this summer has put a lot of us to work on taking care of cleaning up Verso, because there are a lot of records where if you go to search something because you want to request it, you end up with 10 of the same thing and you're not really sure which one you want, which can kind of be confusing. So if you want a hardback or a large print or something, you want to be able to just see the one, click on it, and request one. As you can tell from the screen right now, it's not exactly that easy yet. And this is what we've been working on cleaning up this summer by trying to find the best record, the one with the most info and the correct dates and things, and merging those together so that when someone searches it, it's easier and more efficient. And yeah, that's my side of it, really. Trying to figure out which one is the best one. And then George can tell us how to do it without having to merge all the time if we just attach the record in the beginning.
Okay, thank you, Leah Marie. Appreciate your introduction there. And they have put in a lot of time. And so a good example here that, just a quick search for Harry Potter. You can see here, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. We have one record here with 19 of 23 available. So there's 23 holdings on this one. And then we have an outlier right here of one and another outlier right here of one. And these are all books, so they should all be under one record instead of having 3 individual records. Here's another one down here. So you can kind of see where it gets, especially when you look for something like Harry Potter, it gets very confusing to find the one that you're actually looking for when they're kind of spread out everywhere. And so that's what we're hoping to mitigate in the future so that we don't have to spend hours and hours going through and merging records all the time. So the first workshop we held yesterday, I started off by talking about up here in accounts and changing your preference to all libraries. And Victoria brought up that there are some libraries that still use the Norwest Passage as a possible search avenue as well. So what do we use here in this room right now? Do we use Norwest Passage to search, or do we do all libraries? Or does anybody know exactly what I'm talking about? Because there could be that too.
I use Norwest Passage and Interlibrary Loan.
Okay.
I use the Norwest Passage and Interlibrary Loan buttons too.
Okay. Okay. And Karen, if you can't, that's fine too.
I use the same thing. Norwest
Okay.
Passage I use first, and then I do Interlibrary Loan.
Okay. So I'll show you both, or I'll show you the other option, I guess I should say, and then it's up to you to decide how you want to do it. Sounds like everybody here is doing it properly. So there's one option of using the Norwest Passage the way you have, or before you catalog, coming over to your account and then coming down to your preferences and clicking on default scoping level and changing it from just my library to all libraries, and then hitting save. This then allows you to not have to worry about using that Norwest Passage, and it tends to give you a little more detail, because when you use the Norwest Passage, it acts like a Z39 target, which isn't going to bring it in showing you that it's a holding. It's going to show all the other libraries' holdings as 852 fields. Where if you use all libraries, it'll bring those other libraries in and show you those as holdings, which can help cut down on some confusion. And if you want to edit a record and get rid of, say, Concordia's holding, then you'll know it's an 852 and not an HLD. And so there's just little differences. but if you're comfortable using Norwest Passage, keep using that. If you want to try something new and give it a whirl and just see if you would prefer this other way, you're welcome to do that as well. I'm not going to require one way or the other. Okay, so let's do a search here, and I have a book that I'm going to do a search for. So ISBN, and I'm going to plug in our ISBN number. Okay, so we're going to plug in our ISBN number, and here's the book that we found. Okay, so you notice the first search that I did it in my libraries with that scoping change. It's the same as clicking on the Norwest Passage and doing it. Same exact process. And there's actually one record in the system in member libraries that one of the member libraries owns. So we're going to click on the jacket art, and we're going to come down, and we see this Northwest Kansas Library System owns this book. And so now we would go through the process of adding to this record. We'd add our holding to this record then. And so I'll go down, click on Edit Bib Record, and here we go. So then we just go through the process of adding our holding just like regular, okay? The thing that we want to prevent is librarians coming in when they do a search and clicking cataloging resources, and then for you guys that are doing Norwest Passage, clicking this and then doing the search. Because what's going to happen is you're going to muddy the water. So we're recommending that you do your Norwest Passage search first, or your My Library search first. And then if you do not find a record that way, then you would go to the cataloging resources, click that, and then get everything else that you would then be looking for. And so we'll do that search here real quick as well. Okay, so then this is what you get. And so you'll notice this definitely muddies the water because it makes it harder to see which book you're looking for. Luckily, there is this wonderful librarians drop-down menu here that allows you to see which book is from where, and all you have to do is come in, click on the box, and it'll give you the ones for that library. Okay, so that's nifty if you have a library that you like to use records from, say you like to use the Hayes records or whatever, then you can come in and do that. Like I said, before we even get to those other resources, we do want librarians to do the Norwest Passage, or like I was doing with the other one, changing your account and changing your scoping. Okay, because what happens usually, and I think I'm kind of preaching to the choir today, but what happens usually is if you don't do that search first, you go straight to the cataloging resources, you're going to bring in a record from outside, and you're just going to be creating that mess, continuing that mess, because you're going to find one that you like before you even find the Norwest Passage records, and you're going to bring that in. Okay, so now we'll move on to the second part of this, and that is, what if the record isn't a record that I want to use? Okay. And I don't want anybody to feel like they can't edit a record, because the moment you feel like you can't edit a record, you're going to go out and you're going to grab another one. So by show of hands, how many of you go out or go back into the system and look at your records that you you brought in a month ago? Nobody? I don't see any hands. That's right. So it's not like anybody's going to be offended if you change their record, right? As a matter of fact, most people are going to be happy if you augment the record and change it for good. Use your superpowers for good. Yay! So I want to talk about that for a minute, because I'm not sure how many of you know how to really edit bib records. So here you can see that I have the Norwest Passage right here, because I left that checked. And here's what the record looks like whenever you you do the change the scoping. And so these are the same exact records. It's just one is showing up with that Northwest Passage search and the other one's showing up with the change in the scoping. So we'll go in and click on this. And so let's go down to edit bib record. Okay, so one thing I want to explain, because this was a question yesterday. When we mess with the record, what happens? What's going on here? So let's say you go out and you grab a record from Hayes and you bring it in and you start messing with it. Some of the librarians yesterday believed that you were messing with the record, Hayes's record, in their catalog. That is not the case. As soon as you click on edit bib record, it brings a copy of that record into your AGCAT utility, and you start to manipulate that record, the copy, not the original. Nothing stays until you save that record. Okay, so if you get in and you play with this just to experiment, you go out, you exit without saving, you've done nothing. Nothing's broken, nothing's anything. You've also not done anything to the original record that came from Hayes or wherever you pulled it from, okay? So I want you to know that there is an out. So if you get in over your head, you think, just hit exit without saving and you're safe, okay? If you do save it, it's not the end of the world either. That can be easily fixed as well. So I don't want anybody to feel like they're going to do something to completely break the system, okay? Because that can't happen. I'll just send Leah Marie in and she'll fix it. Okay. All right, so let's look at our record. And how many of you mess with MARC records out there or have? Okay, Bonnie's giving me a little bit. Is that what that is, Bonnie? Okay, Alicia gave me full hand, so you get in and you play around with it. Okay, good.
I play around with it.
And I know, yeah, I know Karen does.
Yeah.
Good.
I just do what Nancy tells me.
Oh, boy.
That's not always good. No.
No.
Well, let's kind
So
of
far,
talk
so good.
All right, good. No, Nancy's good. She won't lead you astray. So let's talk about the record itself here, though, to kind of make everybody more comfortable. So this first thing here, the leader, all this is giving cataloging information about the record itself. So it's a printed language material. It can be anything else in this list. It's a monograph, so it's a book. It's been encoded fully, and it's using a specific kind of punctuation. Usually it's AA, CR2. This all gets boring and you want your eyes to roll back in the back of your head and take a nap or whatever. I don't want to bore you too much with it, but this is just telling you how the record is structured. So this is really what catalogers are looking at. Now this top one here, though, can make a difference in how this shows up in your catalog. So if you have in your catalog a audio CD and it's showing up as printed language, then the problem is probably right here. And so you could come in then and make the change to an audio recording or musical sound recording, and that would change it then to look like it is a CD. And so I get that question often, and if you don't feel comfortable messing with it, don't. Just let me know and I can make the change for you. Or like I said, I'll have Leah Marie go in and make the change. Next we have the control number, because this UBD really isn't anything. You got the control number. This is something that's assigned by Autographics. And then there are various fixed fields that are here. This one, for instance, shows you the date when, and other information when the book was actually entered into the system. Then you have the LCCN, which is the Library of Congress. Oh, and I lost what it means. It's just one of their numbers that they add. Then there's the ISBN number. These are very important, as all of you know. The jacket art that comes into the system and shows for your book is driven by the ISBN number. So if you don't have jacket art, more than likely, either Amazon or Google Books don't have the jacket art, or you've got the wrong ISBN number in there. And so that's always a good thing to go through and check and make sure that the right ISBN number is on there. Of course, there's always going to be two ISBN numbers because books now have two. Modern books, I should say, because if you go back, they'll only have one. And so one will be the ISBN number with the 978, and the other one will be without that at the beginning. They were supposed to be switching over to 978, but I don't think that's fully happened. So. Okay, then your 100 field is your author and then title and so on and so forth. So the blue numbers indicate fields. The yellow terminology in between here tells you what that is, that field is. Then you have these crazy dots and numbers over here. These are indicators, and basically what they do is to tell the computer specifically what information is in each of these fields. And each indicator is basically tied to each field. So like the title indicators will be different than, say, the author indicators. I have a cool little write-up that I did that I pulled from somewhere that has all the information about all of this. And I will be sharing that with you so you can know what subfields go with what fields and what indicators and all that. And it's really easy, and you can work through it and play with it as you want. And then that gets us over here to the pink letters. These are subfields. So this is where the data of the material really resides. Okay, so over here we've got next to the author a subfield A, and that tells you subfield A, and the 100 field is the primary author's name. Okay, then you've got the date of birth, and then there are all kinds of subfields after that that you can add or take away. Same with 245. So you've got A is your title, and then B would be, say, your subtitle, and then they give author information in subfield C. And so all of this structure, like I said, is I have a document for it, and I'll be sharing that and sending that to you. So in Verso, if you want to, for instance, let's say we get down here and we don't like all of these subjects that are here. I'm just throwing this example out there as an example. You can go over here and you can click on that field, Control and X, and you will delete that subject field from the MARC record. This is good to use whenever you get into a record and you've got almost a page of other people's holdings from other libraries, not from the system libraries here, you know, like Goodland or Norton or any of those, but like Concordia or Lawrence or, I mean, any of those libraries out east. You can go through and delete all those holdings out of there because they're unnecessary to clean up the record a little bit. So that's how you delete one of the fields. Now, if you want to go in and edit a field, say there was, let's see, say that this edition actually is the first edition that you have. All you have to do is click in the subfield and you can edit it pretty simply. Just like that. If this book didn't have the page numbers, for instance, you could add the page numbers or how big the book is, things like that. And so what we're asking you to do is, so if you attach to a record, say Karen one day fell asleep while she was cataloging, and she brought this record in, and all it had was the title and the author, and she didn't put anything else in there. You can go ahead and add these other fields then and make that record better. Okay. I have no issue with that as long as you're not, you know, taking things away or changing it so that it takes away from other people's editions. So say you did have the first edition instead of the second edition. In that case, you would have to go and get another record. But we're not going to see a whole lot of that. Okay, does all this make sense? Yeah. Karen, do you have any thoughts, comments? Okay.
Not really. Yeah.
Okay. Now the other option is if Karen's record stinks and you want to bring in another record because you don't want to go through the process of adding all this stuff to a record. The other option is you can bring in another record, but I would recommend you would merge that new record that you like with the old record, as long as everything matches. And then that way you don't have to go through the work of augmenting the other record, okay? And so we're going to do that here today with you guys. We're going to show you how to merge records, okay? So let me close this out. And we will go over to merge a record. And Leah Marie has a record there that needs to do some merging, so we will go through that with her. So Leah Marie, tell me what I'm looking for.
Roses Are Red by James Patterson.
Okay, so did everybody see that? I'm sorry, I kind of zipped through that. Come over to CAD admin, and then down under add item, you've got bib record merge. Okay, so then it brings you into this window. It will allow you to do an ISBN, title, or AG control number search. AG control numbers are very important when you're merging. Okay, every record has one and it's unique. Okay, so I'm looking for, what is that again, Leah Marie?
Roses Are Red.
Oh, actually,
So you're gonna, I haven't looked at which ones need merged in it. It just has several copies that need merged.
okay, perfect. All right. So I typed in Roses Are Red, and it gives me this as a result of that search. And you can click on it, and you can see, okay, Roses Are Red, James Patterson, the control number, and available, library owned, available items. Okay, and then you can do the same. You can get more detail for each one. So you can see that we have lots of different versions of this book. Okay, so what we usually do in order to figure out which one we want to keep and which ones we want to get rid of, we actually go in and do a title search. Okay, and so I will do that real quick. Or you can do an ISBN search. Actually, I'd probably prefer that, but I don't have the ISBN number right now. Okay, so here we go. So we've got an audio cassette. Oh no, yeah, an audiobook cassette. We've got books. We've got several books here. Oh, I need to uncheck Norwest Passage. There we go. Because I'm going to get duplicates that way. So we've got an audio cassette, book. Okay, and looks like we've got a large print here. So we're going to go in and look and see what we're dealing with here. So here's our first one. It's a Bird City. And it's a pretty minimal record, but it's a pretty good record in my opinion. And so then we would come down and get the control number here. So this one is, you want to jot that down for me, Leah Marie? 261235.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our first one, and it's pretty decent record. So let's go back. Let's see if we can find a better one. Okay, here's another one, and this one is and Lenora. Few less subjects. So I would probably merge this record with someone else's. Not that Lenora did a bad job. I don't mean that. I'm just saying that the other records seem to be a little fuller. So let's go on. And one thing that we should also be comparing is page numbers and edition statements and things like that. Okay, here's another record that's got a lot of libraries in it. It's missing page numbers and the size of the book. The thing about these fiction books like this, though, is most of them are all the same. Okay, and here's one with Oakley, Sharon Springs, and St. Francis. Again, we're missing page numbers. and you can see all the different title variations, right? So you're noticing all these little oddities that, yeah, that cause this. Okay, this one's got page numbers. It's even got cost in the local field. So this is Bonnie's. Look at that, Bonnie, we found you. All right. And then let's check this one out. Okay, Weston High School. So they're all pretty close to the same. I'm guessing that this is probably, let's see. This is probably the paperback. Okay, so that will stay separate. This isn't even by our author, so we're good there. And this is a large print, so it will also stay separate. Okay, so Leah Marie 195367 will stay separate. And then $449,822 will stay separate.
Okay.
And all the rest of these we will merge together. Oh, and the audio cassette will stay separate. Let me get that number. 121423.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now all these other records we're going to merge under one. So which record do you think we should merge everything under? Anybody have an opinion as we went through those? You want to see them again? Oh, Bonnie, what'd you say?
The first one.
Right here?
Yeah, I think you ought to look at that one.
Okay. What do you think, Alicia? Yeah, you agree?
Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Karen, you agree too? Is that what you said?
I do. Yes, I agree.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take all the rest of those Leah Marie and merge them into 261235.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back and do this now. And this also shows you the process of working through that merging that a lot of the staff have been doing.
Yeah.
Takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. If you're too hasty, like we were yesterday, we made a mistake.
Yeah, we
But
did yesterday.
we can fix it.
And it wasn't a huge mistake. And it had to do with Pioneer anyway, so we're just like, whatever. There's a grin, Alicia, I like it. All right, so let's go on in here then. Okay. So now we got to find the right one. I hope I gave you the right number.
Yeah, it's down there. Oh, go back.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, the very last one. 261235.
Ah, there we go. So we're going to keep this one. Okay, then we're going to type in, and I'm going to save this because we're going to have to do that a couple more times. Control C, submit. Okay, so now we're going to take, let's see, where was that? And we're going to merge this one. Is that the one of the right ones? Not one of the ones we're keeping, right? Leah Marie?
93739. That can be merged.
Okay, so we'll merge that one. Submit. Okay. And we'll come back down here. And we're going to keep this one again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to submit. And we're going to merge this one. Submit.
Mm-hmm.
And if I make a mistake, Leah Marie, please holler.
Hey, I'm
'Cause I
watching you.
haven't-
Make sure you don't merge the wrong thing.
Yeah, and I haven't been as active at doing this for a while as you guys have been.
Okay, hold on just a sec. Okay, yeah, you can merge that one.
Okay. Yeah, I better ask you before I do it. Jeez Louise, George.
There's only one left we're merging. So,
Okay, so we're going to keep this one.
and then we're looking to merge 451904.
451.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, forgive me, there's one more record to merge.
No problem. We can keep doing it. I'm on a roll now.
Okay, 261, 235. The next one the last one is 386224.
There
There
it
it
is.
is. Okay.
Okay. And we're working off of a list that Autographics created for us of all the duplicates. All right. So now let's go back in and let's see if we did everything properly. Look at that. So we still have our large print, still have our paperback. We now have our book, and we still have our audio cassette. So that is how you do the merging. Hopefully for you guys, it'll only be the one to the one instead of multiples like this once we get it all cleaned up. Okay. Any questions? Did you understand the process there?
So each time you want to merge, you still have to keep the one record you want and then go back in and merge the new one.
That's correct.
Okay.
So if you go in and whatever book you find, you don't like their record because it's not got enough information in it, and you don't want to spend 20 minutes augmenting it, go out and grab that other record, bring it in, add your holding to it, and then remember the two control numbers, search for the title, keep the one that you just brought in, merge the other one to it. That'll bring their holding then onto that record, and you're good to go.
Okay.
The biggest thing is making sure that you're leaving the different formats separate, like the audiobooks, paperbacks, things like that. And like I said earlier, if there is a difference in edition, which is going to be very rare, but if there is that difference, then you're going to want to bring in another record for your edition. Okay. Okay, very good. Any other questions largely before we get into the next portion of what we're going to do? Okay, perfect. All right. So now I want to get into, okay, so you've just done your search with Norwest Passage, and you didn't find anything. So now we're going to go out and we're going to do this search. So let me plug in that ISBN number again. And I blame Dave that I don't have a scanner because he says I don't deserve one. So
I have them all.
I have to type it in by hand. Sorry about that. Need some music. Leah Marie, you gonna sing and dance for him while I'm typing? No. Okay. All right. So now we've done the search to go wider to see what else we can find here that we can bring in. And so one thing I want to point out that I pointed out yesterday to everybody is that you have to kind of be careful with the connection records. They're great records. I have no issue with that. But you just have to be careful with them. I'm going to show you a few fields that we need to make sure we delete out of those connection records before we bring them in. And also, this is a good example for you to see, like right here, crucial accountability. They have the wrong ISBN number on that record. This one here is probably a different edition, and so it has a different cover on it. And so it's interesting to see all the different records from this view. But let's go in and look at this record here real quick. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to come down, edit bib record. Again, like I said before, once you click on that, this is a copy. You're not messing with OCLC's record. We're bringing this copy in for us. And nothing's going to happen until we click the yellow barrel at the top. Okay, so here are the two fields that I want everybody that brings in connection OCLC records out of those records. And that is this 948 right here. That says no holdings in CI8, 2 other holdings. So we'll hit Control X. And then the other one, oh, it got rid of both of them. How about that? And the other one, I wonder if I can go back because I didn't want to get rid of both of them. Okay, and then the other one is the Z0 CI8. The reason I want us to get rid of these two fields is because in the past, they have caused some issues with some records. For some reason, when the system Autographics sees that, they tend to hide that record. Not all the time. I mean, like I said, it's very rare, but it does happen maybe once a year. And it has to do with this right here, these two crazy fields. Because what that's telling the computer is opposite of what the computer sees, or the system sees. It sees that we own that copy, but yet down here, this in the 948 is telling it we don't actually own the copy. And so it's causing the system to go in conflict. And so every now and then when the system hiccups, it says, hey, this record doesn't actually exist, and it kind of hides it. And in order to prevent that from happening, we just want you to get rid of those two fields out of any connection record. Okay? Any questions? Okay, good. The connection records are great though, so if you want to use them, you are more than welcome to. Okay. All right. Let me check my questions from yesterday. Make sure. Okay, we had a question yesterday about memorials, and where do we put the memorials? At one point we had an answer, but that answer has gone away. So I'm going to talk to Dave and see if we can't get with Maureen and find out exactly where we can put the memorials. Because we have some libraries that like to search for their memorials so that when a patron comes in and asks what was purchased, then they can do the search of that person's name and bring up all the records and show them what books were purchased. And then we have some that doesn't matter because they keep it in a spreadsheet and they just put it in the comments in the holding. But I will see what we can figure out with Autographics. That's a good place to put our memorials. The other comment that I had yesterday that kind of surprised me was whenever you click on edit bib record, I think Maureen, whenever she was doing the training a few years back, told them that they needed to come up to File and click Create Copy. I don't know why she taught people to do that, because all that's doing is creating a duplicate copy, and that's completely unnecessary. It's just another step that you don't need. And so if you're doing that in your processes, you don't need to. Once you bring up the edit bib record, that's the copy you can work on and manipulate. And then if you don't want to save it, don't save it. And then if you do, then you're good to go. So don't bother with that up here on the file. Okay. And those were really the two big questions yesterday. Any general questions for me today? Now that we've gone through all of this, does it make sense? Was it helpful? Okay. Karen, do you have any questions, comments?
I did, when you're talking about memorials, years ago, I was told to put it under 590. And will it be easy to change that when the time comes if they say it's to be somewhere else?
We'll figure it out. Yes.
Okay.
When you put it in the 590, was there anything else that you needed to do with it?
No.
Okay.
All I did was that's what I was told to do years ago, and
Yeah.
it just said, I just put in memory of, and then of the person and the year that it was donated.
Right. Yeah.
So nothing else. That was it.
And I think the comment that I heard yesterday is that most of the other libraries don't want to see other people's
Right, I
memorials.
understand, yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to work with them to see, but there should be a way that we could put it in, say, for instance, a 590 field, or we could assign a specific 590 field to each library to put it in, and
Like a
just,
subfield of some sort.
yeah, and just make it visible to that library and make it not visible to the other libraries through
Okay,
some of the various settings that we have on Verso. I just want to
Okay.
talk to them before I start working through it, because I don't know what some of that could do to other settings. So,
okay,
but yeah, we'll be able to work through it once we get it figured out.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Leah Marie, is there anything else? Did I miss anything from yesterday?
Not that I can think of. Just that we're very grateful that everyone's taking the time to watch this so that we can have less of the thousands of records to merge.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. But I'm also glad in one way the pandemic has allowed us to get this done. And so in that regard, I'm grateful for that, because we were working from home. And so I had Jen and Heather, myself, we were all working on it. And then when Leah Marie came, thanks for Summer coming along after that, then she could help us out as well. And she's going to continue to do so in college. So,
Yeah, it's gonna help me have food.
right. So it's
Well,
all
that's
kind of
good.
worked out perfectly. We're grateful for it. So,
I do have one question, George.
yes.
And that is, like, when you get a brand new book and you've got to get a catalog because someone is waiting breathlessly for
Mhm.
it,
Yeah.
is it best to just like keep track of that and then go back in later to get a better record of it
Yeah.
and
That's
then just merge it?
what I would do, is probably do a brief record in that regard.
Okay,
And make sure I check that box in there that says delete it when it comes back. And then when it comes back, then take the time to do it.
okay,
And just let your
all right.
staff know that, hey, if it pops up saying this was a brief record, that
Yeah,
I
they
needed
usually
to.
put it on my desk.
Yep, that's right.
Okay,
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm glad you were here and could participate. I'm going to
Thank
stop the
you.
recording.